All right, so now we're going to take some calls early for the purpose of trying to clarify any confusion on the circumstances involving McGahan, obstruction of justice, subpoenas, what have you. All right, let's get started. And I want the callers to really step it up. Make sure you're sober. That's the number one test. Gene, Indianapolis, Indiana, the great WFDM. Go.
Yes, I'm going to make 2 quick points, and then I'll hang up and listen to your responses. I don't think that Mueller was ever going after Trump for collusion or for the Russia thing. I believe he was going after him for taxes and finances, just like he's done with Manafort and the others. My second thing is, and I could be wrong on this.
Well, let me slow you down a second. He has a funny way of showing it, though, since he hasn't subpoenaed any of Trump's taxes or finances.
Right, but that would be one of the things that only Trump could answer versus everybody else for these interviews.
But I'm saying he hasn't even requested any documents.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, then that was just my off-the-wall.
Okay. Yep.
My second thing is I've been told it costs $25,000 for a security clearance, and that we have 5 million of them out there that are renewed every 5 years, and I'm thinking that's a heck of a bill for the taxpayer.
Let me correct that. I don't believe there are 5 million of them renewed every year. There are 5 million of them, but not all of them are renewed.
They've got within 5 years.
But to underscore one of your points, they're enormously expensive. They go back to elementary school, to middle school. We used to call it junior high, high school. They go back to any. If you rented an apartment, they go back and talk to any landlords. They try and find anybody who used to live with you when you were next to you when you were, say, in your 20s and so forth. They interview former teachers. I mean, they travel the country. And the more extensive your background, the more extensive the work is involved in tracking things down. And then if somebody says something that is troubling, then they have to pursue that. A full clearance can take 8 months, 9 months, a full year. And it is enormously expensive, which is also why an incoming administration has what they call temporary security clearances, because obviously they can't function with their own people if they have to sit around and wait for these long security clearances to take place. It's one of the reasons that I object to what the president's chief of staff, Kelly, who I like very much. I don't know him. I've met him once in my life, and I respect him enormously, but that's one of the reasons that I object to the way they're handling security clearances. The media have they've reacted to the media, which attempted to force him in this position, given a few personnel matters that took place. But this broad brush approach on security clearances, that results in you not being able to fill key positions with people you want. Anyway, Gene, thanks for that point. I appreciate it very much. James, Denver, Colorado. How are you?
Oh, good, Mark. How are you?
Good. How are you listening to us?
Mark Levin app on iHeartRadio.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. So I was listening to your comments about, potentially opening up, being able to call in the president for questioning,
No, I don't think he can call in the president for questioning.
Well, no, but you were talking about if we try to set this precedent and then all of a sudden, any prosecutor can try and get the president to come in and answer questions. I think that's what I understand.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep. Go ahead.
So I was reading a Yahoo article a few weeks ago, and apparently all 3 Democrats that are running for the New York State Attorney General position have all vowed to some degree or another launch investigations into Trump.
Mm-hmm. Of course, those are state, and that would raise a different issue with respect to subpoenaing a president. But what's going to happen now is you're going to get more and more of this stuff, more and more judges ruling on this stuff, and all of a sudden the office of the presidency is horribly weakened. And for what? For what? What's happened here exactly? The president hasn't done anything. What are they going to subpoena? Because they want his testimony to see if to ask him about what is a presidential prerogative. That is the firing of a subordinate. It's crazy.
Right. Well, this article basically alluded to the fact, And I think the teaser headline was this lady, and she was one of the candidates, could be much worse news for Trump than Mueller. And basically it alluded to the fact that any New York State Attorney General is going to go in with a fine-tooth comb over all his business dealings because that's where his residence and business is.
Okay, so you're talking about a different issue altogether. That is, they want to investigate his finances, his residence, and so forth. Let me ask you a question about this beyond the Constitution. Have you noticed the extent to which the media accept the relentless legal and partisan attacks on this president that are outside political norms? So they're going to use the legal processes in the state of New York to try and damage this president. And nobody cares. So what you basically have are these blue state hacks who get elected to office telling their hack constituents, you elect me, and I'll take down the president of the United States by hook or by crook. I'm telling you, this is Venezuela stuff. This is Zimbabwe stuff. This is just incredible that we have a republic like this that's collapsing from within. Thank you for your call, sir. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Just to show you how ridiculous Mueller and his team of Democrat liberal donors actually is, I want you to keep a couple things in mind. Now, they have dragged the Manhattan Madam in front of a federal grand jury. We have Stormy Daniels. Yeah, is this a clown show? What is this? What is it? Is this a clown show? I'm starting to think it is a clown show. And by the way, whatever happens to Manafort in that courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia, whether he loses, whether he wins, whether it's a draw, whatever, Mueller's lawyers have not been impressive. They've made a number of mistakes during the course of that prosecution. So I would advise the president's lawyers, the law's on your side, the Constitution is on your side, the facts on your side, and these guys are not 10 feet tall Amazons. If they just do good lawyering on the president's side, I think he'll turn out just fine. You're going to subpoena the president, not to testify by any crime he committed, even though you admit he can't be indicted in any event, or any president, but because you want to try and trick him. Now, I don't think there is a serious court. There are Obama appointees and Clinton appointees, but I mean a serious court that would think that is appropriate. So there's just an enormous number of issues that could be raised against Mueller and his team. Constitutional, other legal issues, and, of course, factual issues. Rick, Jonesboro, Arkansas, on the Mark Levin app. How are you?
Hey, doing great. Wow. A little starstruck, but I'll try to make my point quick.
Don't worry.
And get off so you can do your thing. Just listening to the interview, the interviewer, Chuck Todd, it seems to me like he is exactly proving Rudy's point by taking what Rudy said and turning it into another truth, and then the news media taking that truth that they've spun and running with it instead of taking what Rudy said as, you know, everybody who listens to that with any common sense can figure out what Rudy's trying to say. But they are intentionally twisting it.
Absolutely. And, of course, the prosecutor's not a judge. The prosecutor's an advocate, right?
That's correct. And, I mean, the whole thing is, I mean, they're doing it right in front of everybody, proving Rudy's point right in front of everybody for everybody to see, take what Rudy said and twist it into something that he didn't say. And the truth isn't the truth.
And also, to your point, look what they did to Michael Flynn. The first round of interviews with the FBI, they said, look, he had a memory lapse, no big deal, that's the end of it. Peter Strzok, who has an agenda, he goes back, he circles back, same thing, sets up Flynn, and now Flynn is broke. He's had to plead guilty. He's trying to find ways to pay his lawyer. They charge him, he's pled to one count of false statements. The thing's a mess. This guy, Mueller hasn't shown good faith with anybody, has he?
No, and it's the double standard is sickening in this whole thing. Trump or anybody on his team cannot say anything right, and anybody on the Democrat side, Hillary, they can't say anything wrong. I mean, nothing they say, nothing they do is wrong.
Let me add this. So they dragged this Manhattan Madam in front of a federal grand jury in Washington, right?
Correct.
They didn't do anything on the Hillary side, where there is actual Russia taint, whether it's the dossier or anything else. They're not dragging any of them in front of that same federal grand jury. So really, how much does Mueller want to get to the bottom of this? Well, I was limited to Russian interference in the Trump campaign. Really? And that brought you to the Manhattan Madam? Is she Russian? I don't think so. All right, my friend. Thank you for your call. Bill, Alexandria, Virginia, the great WMAL. Go.
Yeah, Mark, first of all, your analysis, as usual, is spot on any of these topics. I'd like to emphasize two things. One is the fact, and I'm a retired lawyer, Mueller should never have taken this job, and that's obvious. Anybody that in his position should have known that he has a total conflict of interest in this. But the second point, I don't think anybody really realizes it, is the president is very good about his analysis, and I don't think he fears the issue of impeachment whatsoever. And
well, I happen to know that's not correct. Not fear is the wrong word, but he's well aware of it, I am told. And that's why he's going to be campaigning 60 days out from the election almost every day. He'd be a fool not to be concerned about it. He doesn't want to destroy his presidency and be bogged down with endless subpoenas.
Yeah, but I think my point is that he knows that he's in the right and that he's going to beat anything that comes up against him.
But you can't, listen, he may know he's in the right. But if you have a house full of Democrats and a significant majority, whether you're in the right or not, they can vote to impeach. They shouldn't, but they have the votes. And unless he wants to live in a living hell with subpoenas and endless attacks and can't accomplish a hell of a lot, of course he's worried about it. He ran for president to be a president. He ran for president to get things done.
Yeah, but I think that.
All right, thanks for your call. Doesn't matter what I say. He's a nice man, but I'm insisting that I'm right, and I'm insisting on that. But you're not right. Of course, the president's concerned about it, and he has every reason to be concerned about it. We are all concerned about it. I'm afraid that attitude, unwittingly, is going to result in a Democrat landslide. We have to be concerned. We have to have some fury. We got to get out and vote. We got to corral our people to vote. The president wants us to vote. Why do you think he goes to these rallies and backs candidates and asks you to vote for them? It's not a matter of fear. It's a matter of concern that the Democrats might take the House. And even apart from impeachment, do we want these leftist socialists in the House of Representatives driving up spending even more? I mean, come on. Can't be Pollyannas about this. We've got to take this very, very seriously. The barbarians are at the gate. The left is at the gate. Oh, don't worry. We're not worried. I'm worried about it. There you have it. I'm concerned about it. And we should all be. And we need to be fired up, not blasé and passive. That's exactly what they want. All right. Lou, Milford, Connecticut, the great WABC. Lou, I don't know how you get through all the time, but you speed dial or something? Hello, Lou, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So Rosenstein.
All right, we don't have a good connection. Robin, Springville, Florida, Sirius Satellite, go.
Yes, Mr. Levin, I'd like to find out more information on the FISA warrants. Supposedly there were 4 of them. Are they still each one active, or is the latest one active?
No, the last one expired, 90 days, and they're out. as far as we know. So there are no active investigations of Carter Page and company. So you got to extend them, and they haven't extended it a fifth time. Rosenstein had extended it a fourth time because he's such a brilliant man. I'll be right back.
If you're trying to reach Mark on the air, call him at 877-381-3811. The Mark Levin Radio Show continues.
Rudy Giuliani says, look, it takes us a day, 2, 3 to write a letter, respond to the special counsel. It takes him 2 to 3 weeks. Why is he dragging this on? The election. There's another reason. And I'll point it out now. So the professor from Harvard, the professor from George Washington, but more than that, they can repeat it, but more than that, so the White House lawyers listen to me. Been thinking about this during the break. Mr. Producer, I was testing it on him. Do you know why it's taking 2 or 3 weeks? Who is Mr. Mueller's supposed boss? Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General. And they've made the argument in court when Mr. Mueller's appointment has been challenged that he does have a boss, Mr. Mueller. He's not an independent operator, and his boss is the Deputy Attorney General, Rosenstein. Mueller is conferring with Rosenstein. And together they're trying to figure out what to do. And Rosenstein is the acting Attorney General. He's running the Department of Justice for purposes of this investigation. It's as if Jeff Sessions doesn't exist. So Rosenstein's the acting Attorney General in charge of the Department of Justice. Mr. Mueller, at least theoretically, reports to him. I do not believe Mr. Mueller will make a decision on a subpoena or his next step without consulting with, colluding with, maybe even conspiring with Mr. Rosenstein. And that should be a significant cause for concern because he has very, very poor judgment. The original appointment of Mueller demonstrates that. That's part of the reason, if not the most important reason, why it's taking so long. Mr. Mueller wants to cover his tracks. He doesn't want to be hung out there by himself. Mr. Mueller wants the backing of the Department of Justice and Mr. Rosenstein should he take what would be a historically unparalleled step to damage the presidency and the Constitution. I believe that's what's going on. Now, all the backbenchers, feel free to repeat it. All the legal scholars, quote unquote, all the professors, former federal prosecutors, defense counsel, all over cable, go ahead and chew on that because that's what's taking place. No doubt about it in my mind.